So here's something that doesn't sound real, but it is. Pokemon recently aired a single Super Bowl commercial that cost more than it took to actually make any of their biggest games. And no, that is not clickbait math. We have the leaked development budgets, we have the real Super Bowl ad pricing, and we have a very uncomfortable comparison once you line the numbers up. And when you realize how little Pokemon spends making its games and how much they spend convincing you to buy them, it completely reframes the conversation around graphics, polish, and most importantly, priorities. And the craziest part, this is not a one-off, this is a pattern. You see, last night was the Super Bowl and the Pokemon community was super excited because this is the 30th year anniversary of Pokemon, and everyone knew that there was going to be a Pokemon ad for the Super Bowl, and expectations were through the roof. Leaked documents from last year show that generation 10 of Pokemon is coming out at the end of 2026, and technically that is still a leak or rumor, we don't know for sure, but the entire Pokemon community was excited for this Super Bowl commercial because surely something big was going to be revealed. And what did they reveal? Well, if you missed it, I don't think you really missed much. Lady Gaga and Jigglypuff duet to celebrate 30 years of Pokemon. The Super Bowl ad kicks off a year-long "What's Your Favorite Pokemon" campaign. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the Pokemon series, and a new star-studded Super Bowl ad featuring a duet of Jigglypuff and Lady Gaga has kicked off the celebrations. Shockingly, Jigglypuff is only the second coolest duet that Lady Gaga had for the Super Bowl, because of course she just showed up during Bad Bunny's set, which was completely unexpected for a lot of people unless you're really in the weeds. But anyway, the commercial featured other celebrities like comedian Trevor Noah, Blackpink singer Jisoo, sorry for mispronounced that, Never Have I Ever actor Maitre, sorry I'm definitely mispronouncing that, and more, discussing their favorite Pokemon. Pokemon Day, the franchise's official birthday, is just around the corner on February 27th, and fans have been speculating on what sort of announcements it will bring. 2026 is already shaping up to be an exciting year for the fandom, with Pokemon Lego sets in store later this month, costing half of your rent, by the way. I made an entire video about that, and the Life Sim Pokemon Pokopia arriving in March, which still has alarmingly low pre-order numbers on Amazon last time I checked, but it could be a surprising smash hit. Other announcements like a release date for Pokemon Champions are almost certainly on the horizon, but with such a milestone birthday, it's likely the company has some special surprises up its sleeve. The commercial serves as the launch of a new year-long "What's Your Favorite" campaign. After a lovely duet with Lady Gaga and Jigglypuff, which is Lady Gaga's favorite, the commercial stars all shared their favorite Pokemon, which were as follows. So Trevor Noah picked Psyduck, Jisoo picked Eevee, Lamine Yamal picked Zygarde, no it isn't, Charles Leclerc picked Arcanine, Young Miko picked Gengar, and Maitre picked Luxray. Again, very sorry I can't pronounce that, I'm very white, okay? In a press release, the president for Pokemon stated that 2026 would be a year packed full of fan-focused celebrations, beginning with a new Pokemon Go feature. As of February 8th, Pokemon Go players can add their favorite Pokemon into photos and are encouraged to share them online with the hashtag Pokemon30. Day out and night out events are also in the works, where, according to the Pokemon Company, trainers will be able to enjoy various fan-focused experiences that encourage the larger community to come together in real life. Day out events will focus on family-friendly activities, while night out events will be geared towards older fans. Currently, there's no other information about timing or location. And this sounds all well and good, right? The 30th year celebration being this big fan-focused event sounds great. I mean, what better way to celebrate? Well, the truth is that the best way to celebrate your fans and the best way to celebrate 30 years of Pokemon is by delivering a high quality game experience that fans have been demanding for basically the entirety of the Switch lifespan. The part that makes this so frustrating for a Pokemon fan like myself is that we know how much a Super Bowl commercial costs in 2026. The 30-second ad price is through the roof. It has literally never been higher in all of Super Bowl history. We have the entire history laid out here, and a 30-second ad slot was between $8 and $10 million. That is not the cost of the commercial. That is the cost to air the commercial for 30 seconds. And by the way, the Pokemon commercial was a full minute, which means you just double that number. So it costs anywhere from $16 to $20 million just to air the commercial. And then when you factor in the actual production cost of making the commercial, you know, the storyboarding, the planning, the actual shooting of everything, editing the whole thing together, and then on top of that you add on the star-studded lineup here with Lady Gaga, Trevor Noah, Jisoo, everyone, you're looking at an ad that costs somewhere between 20 and 30 million US dollars, if not more. And the price tag itself is not that surprising. I mean, the reach alone is a big deal. I mean, this is like the biggest event for advertising throughout the entire year, pretty much, at least in the United States, of course. But the part that makes this number particularly insidious is the fact that the Pokemon games themselves have a smaller budget than this single Super Bowl ad. Now, real quick, if you made it this far into the video, consider dropping a thumbs up down below, because I just want what's best for the Pokemon franchise, but the diehard Pokemon fans are going to dislike bomb this video, so please consider helping me fight them off by leaving a like down below and use the new hype feature. Of course, as you guys know, if you've been following the channel, we reported back in October that Pokemon Legends EA only needs to sell 200,000 units to break even, because according to the mega leak from back in October, alleged confidential information straight from the Pokemon company has been doing the rounds. Part of the supposedly leaked information relates to Legends EA's budget, which was reportedly 2 billion yen, or around 13 million US dollars. So just the airtime alone for this commercial costed more than the entirety of Legends EA's development. That's not even factoring in paying the celebrities and editing and filming and all this other stuff that goes into making an ad of this magnitude. And even if you have the mindset of, okay, Pokemon Legends EA is kind of just a spin-off title, it's not a main generation release, well, that doesn't change anything, because we have the leaked development budgets for Sword and Shield, Legends Arceus, and Scarlet and Violet as well. Scarlet and Violet only costed 21.8 million US dollars. Legends Arceus was 14.4 million. So you'll notice that Legends EA was the cheapest of the bunch, by the way, and we can tell. I mean, anyone who looks at gameplay footage of this game can see that it looks unpolished, it looks unfinished, it does not look like it is ready for the mass consumption of the game, and yet they greenlit the game anyway in order to sell as many Switch 2 units as they could in the first year. And so again, I look at this information as a Pokemon fan, from a Pokemon fan's perspective, and it makes me disappointed that their priorities are completely misaligned. They are spending more money marketing their games than they are making their games. And the sad part is that if Pokemon actually spent the time and money required to make a good Pokemon game, the word of mouth would do the rest. People already know about Pokemon. People already love Pokemon. There's already more brand recognition for Pokemon than any other franchise in the history of humanity. We don't need more ads, we need better games, and the word of mouth will do the rest because everyone already knows Pokemon. If Pokemon released their most polished and best game ever on the Nintendo Switch 2, and I bought the game and played it and was like, wow, my mind is blown, they finally did it, this is the best Pokemon game to date, and I went to all my friends and said, guys, did you hear Pokemon actually released a really good game? None of them are gonna be like, wait, what's Pokemon? No, they know. Even if they haven't played the game for 25 years, they know about Pokemon. So the word of mouth will do all of the heavy lifting, but instead they're spending more money to make sure that you will buy whatever they release, whether it's good or bad, and the sales numbers for Scarlet and Violet are evidence of that. Scarlet and Violet are the best-selling Pokemon games since the original Red, Blue, and Yellow, and true fans of the franchise know that those games were nothing special. I mean, graphically, they were super unimpressive. They looked like they could run on the, I don't know, Wii or Wii U. From a story perspective, they were underwhelming until you got to the very end of the game and there was a cool little plot twist, but the 80% in the middle there, the meat and potatoes, was just a vast open empty world with like a 25 frame per second average. And the only reason that there are Pokemon fans that haven't jumped ship yet is because Pokemon is very good at weaponizing nostalgia, which was what we saw during the Super Bowl. The ad wasn't, oh, here's the cool thing coming next. It was just, hey, remember your favorite Pokemon? This franchise is spending millions and millions of dollars convincing you that Pokemon is still the latest and greatest thing, that it's still the hottest thing since sliced bread, and they're just hoping and praying that you don't take off the nostalgia goggles and look at it for what it really is. Because once you do that, you realize that actually it's not that good, and it hasn't been good for a while. And again, that's coming from me, a massive Pokemon fan. I've got literally every Pokemon game on this shelf right here. You can kind of see Heart Gold right there. Soul Silver's right next to it, but this is chronological order from the red, blue, yellow, and green Japanese version all the way up through all of the 3DS titles, and then down here we've got all the games on Switch. And from my opinion, I mean, this is just me, I don't think they've made a good Pokemon game since the 3DS. I think Sword and Shield were acceptable, but everything else besides that was just honestly not very good. I know some people like Legends Arceus. It wasn't for me. I can see the appeal, but this Super Bowl ad was really just a reality check. The sober reality of the Pokemon franchise in 2026 is that you still like it because they've spent millions of dollars convincing you to, and that's really the part that nobody wants to come to terms with, right? It's uncomfortable to realize that, like, we've been marketed to, we all fell for it at a certain point, right? And that's really all it is. And it's okay if you like Pokemon, but just understand that you like it because they told you to. If you play any other games, you'll see that graphically it's unimpressive, the frame rate is unimpressive, the art direction has gone downhill since moving to the Switch, everything just kind of looks like generic 3D Unity assets. Even the Pokemon games with the best story are good for Pokemon games. When you compare their story to actual stories, they're not that great. So what's left at the center of it all is nostalgia, and that's why Pokemon put $30 million behind reminding you of that. That's their biggest asset, is nostalgia. No, they're not going to give you the game you want, but what they're going to do is spend enough money to make sure that you want whatever they put on the shelf, even if it's not very good. And even if there's an argument to be made, like, okay, well, you know, the last couple of games haven't been anything remarkable, like they're not going to melt your face off, right? They're not going to set the world on fire, but that's because Omniarch, the next games are going to be the ones that set the world on fire. Those are going to be the ones that really push the needle. And it's like, no, they're not. We already have leaks from generation 10. Anyone who's being honest with themselves knows that yes, it's a beta. No, it's not going to look that much better. It'll look a little bit better, but if you've been around the block as long as I have, I've seen this time and time again. The expectations are through the roof and they always under deliver, but that's okay. It's Pokemon, it's nostalgic, and they get a pass every single time. Now, I'm not going to show the leaked images here for fear of the Pokemon company taking this video down, but this article describes them. Okay, Pokemon's generation 10 games are likely going to be announced in a few weeks on the series' 30th anniversary, but since the huge Terra leak revealed details, images, and videos of Game Freak's upcoming projects, it's been hard to keep a lid on the RPG. Now, weeks before their proper unveiling, new images have leaked of the game's open world. The new Switch 2 games are supposedly called Pokemon Wind and Wave and are reported to take place in a procedurally generated world. These images are from the game's 2024 beta, so ideally, keyword ideally, they'll look more polished when we see them later this month. We can see several varied environments, including an underwater area, a frozen tundra, grassy fields, and a city. Some of them are very clearly from an early stage in development though, where a lot of the general shapes are laid out, but the details and textures haven't been added yet. Keep in mind that the details revealed in any of these leaks could have changed in the years since these files made their way to the public. They won't have changed that much, and here's why: because Pokemon and Game Freak are on a super tight schedule. This has always been the case, and even jumping to the 3D open world environment of the Switch, they haven't really got much more breathing room, frankly, and that's the problem with this stuff. They can't go back and actually fix things the way that they probably want to, and this isn't even the developer's fault, it's the corporation's fault. It's the business side of things. It's the profit-driven incentive. It is the short-term cash grab versus the long-term investment. They simply don't have the time to go back and really make things perfect and really make things from a place of love and passion. They have to just kind of build the plane as they fly it because they have a ship date, and the sales of the Switch 2 this year kind of are riding on this Pokemon generation, unless we see some other massive release at some point during this year, which maybe we will, maybe we won't. But Pokemon fans have already scrubbed through all the development footage and assets in the leak for Pokemon Legends EA, and that game went through some pretty significant changes over the course of its creation. Wind and Wave, or whatever the games are going to be called, could look completely different by the time Game Freak actually reveals them. No, it won't. Hopefully we won't have to wait too much longer. We won't. We'll probably hear about it later this month. But here's the thing, right? Like, do you actually think generation 10 costs more to produce than this Super Bowl ad? I think probably not, right? Even if they increase their budget from Scarlet and Violet, which I suspect they will, right? It's on the Switch 2, and so there is sort of an expectation of a higher quality, at least better textures, better frame rate, and everything like that. So I suspect that these games probably have a higher budget, but even if this budget is like $25 million, that's going to put it right in line with what this ad cost, right? And like, look, I understand the point of marketing, I understand the function of this, and the problem is not that they did this, the problem is that Pokemon is the biggest franchise in the entire world. It is more valuable than Barbie and the Marvel Cinematic Universe combined, by the way. You can even take the entire Mickey Mouse franchise and combine it with the Star Wars franchise, and that's still less valuable than Pokemon themselves. So in a world where they're spending 20 to 30 million on a single commercial and about the same on their game, what I would have rather seen them do is spend, okay, 20 to 30 million on their commercial and 60 million on their game, and give it another year in the oven and actually let it cook and actually release something that shows that the development team is still passionate about Pokemon as a project. But we haven't seen that for the better part of a decade at this point, and I'm really, as a fan, just really disheartened. And that's why there's so many videos on this channel of me being critical of Pokemon, and in particular Legends EA when it launched. Not because I hate Pokemon, it's because I love Pokemon and I hate to see what it's become. And it's not just because I've gotten older, because I can go back and I can still play the older Pokemon games and actually enjoy them. And sure, my attention span isn't what it once was, but whose is? I want a new experience that's made for the modern audience, that isn't just an undercooked cash grab. That's really all I'm trying to say here. So I don't know, this Super Bowl ad just left a sour taste in my mouth, because they're doing the same thing over and over and over again. They did it for the 20th, they did it for the 25th, and they're gonna do it now for the 30th. And while many of us Pokemon fans have actually woken up and can see this for what it is, it's just weaponized nostalgia, a vast majority of the fan base just refuses to come to terms with that, either because they don't know or they're not paying attention. And if they're not, then that means they're still gonna buy the games, and if the games continue to sell well, we're gonna never get another good Pokemon game. And that's the part about this that sucks the most for me as a fan. I just want another good Pokemon game. My goal is the same as every Pokemon fans. I'm just not afraid to actually speak my mind about it, even though all the Pokemon fans that have blind allegiance to the brand are gonna dislike this video. So guys, if you made it to the end of the video, please consider dropping a thumbs up on it. It really does help out the channel. It'll help me fight off the constant barrage of Pokemon negativity that I get, even though I just want what's best for the franchise. And by the way, you might think you're subscribed to my channel because you've seen a ton of my videos, but you're actually not. Double check down below.